Hey YouTube, Qualia here, bringing you all an update to my Cardfight Vanguard Impauldio deck profile. This is the latest update for the Destined 1 of Excellence deck. Big thanks to my buddy Donnie for letting me borrow his deck for the video. The Destined 1 of Excellence just goes all out with the auto mode gauges, which are a token that is set up in your order zone, being able to then give you auto mode gauges, which are cards you build up from your drop zone into the auto mode gauge, and then depending on how many you have, you can have different abilities for your Vanguard and then go off of your own rearguard abilities as well for the added pressure that we can provide. We have had support since set 7 for this deck, just haven't got around to actually updating the deck with the newer support, but once again, thanks to him for letting me borrow his deck for the video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the actual ride deck. For the ride deck, we have the Energy Generator. Our grade 0 is Falstather. When rode upon, if you went second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is Eno Progret. When placed by riding from the grade 0 card, reveal a grade 3 with Impauldio and its card name from your ride deck. Put a system code exceed token into your order zone, which we'll go over the token in just a bit. The grade 2 is Dross Evolia. When it's rode upon by a grade 3 card with Impauldio and its card name, put the top card of your deck face up as your auto mode gauge, and choose a card from your auto mode gauge you may put into your hand. So while it doesn't build up the number, it at least allows you to swap in between different cards in your auto mode gauge for you then to use for your hand, with our grade 3 being Destined 1 of Excellence, Impauldio. We are running additional copies in the main deck, but before that, we'll go over the actual system code Exceed, which is the card that sets up the auto mode gauge from the order zone. You cannot ride grade 3 or greater cards without Impauldio in the card name. You can have auto mode gauges from the order zone when a card is put into your damage zone during your opponent's turn. Choose a card from your drop zone, put it face up as an auto mode gauge. If you have 3 or less auto mode gauges and this card damage check reveal a card other than a trigger, choose one of your Vanguards and gets +5 to end of turn. If you have 4 or more auto mode gauges, choose one of your Vanguards and gets +5 until end of turn. So it just adds more and more power on top of the added boost. So having the +5,000 if you have 3 or less auto mode gauges, then if you have 4 or more, having the additional +5 for your auto mode gauges to use for your Vanguard as well. Depending on the power boost that you can provide, it can be great for defensive strategies also with Impauldio. But speaking of Impauldio, we're running 3 additional copies of the grade 3 in the main deck as well. On the Vanguard circle, once per turn, you can counterblast 1, choose a card from your drop, put it face up as your auto mode gauge, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose a grade 3 or less card from among them, call it to rearguard, choose and shuffle your deck. And this unit gets from the Vanguard, all your front row get +5 for every 2 of your auto mode gauges until end of turn. And Divine Skill, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, and you have 4 or more auto mode gauges, counterblast 1, discard a card from your hand, this unit gets critical +1, and drive +2 until the end of turn. So this is the added pressure, having quad drive and then the additional critical for that added pressure on top of everything else, being able to just have that added pressure on top of our next grade 3 as well, which we're running 4 copies of, which is Sky Leaping Conversion, Vinstar. From the rearguard circle during your turn, if you have 2 more auto mode gauges, it gets +5. If you have 8 or more, this unit's drive cannot be reduced by card effects, because then with Vinstar, when it attacks, if you have 4 more auto mode gauges and no drive checks were performed for your rearguards this turn, counter +1 till the end of that battle. This unit performs drive checks and gets drive -1 till the end of that battle. So you'll have the potential for a divine skill for drive checks, and then Vinstar being able to have 2 if you have the 8 auto mode gauges, so 6 drive checks in total for your entire attack step against your opponent. And then other grade 3s include the 2 copies of Hypersonic Conversion, Mock Fighter, during the battle phase that this unit attacked, and the added pressure. If you have 4 or more auto mode gauges, all of your opponent's rearguards cannot move to the rearguard or guard circle. Added, restriction as well when this attacks for a potential all effects to this rearguard if you know what your opponent's going to use for their guard step. For the grade 2s, we're running 4 copies of Nebula Invoke Dragon. When it attacks, so last one, it gets +5 till the end of that battle. If you have 5 or more auto mode gauges, this unit gets +15 instead of +5. And if you have 4 or more auto mode gauges, this unit gets shield +15, giving you a 20k guard with this card alone when placed onto the guard circle. So it all depends on just the auto mode gauges you have for this unit to have incredible power and incredible defense as well. The new grade 2 from set 7 is Radio RNI. During your turn on rearguard, if you have 4 more auto mode gauges, it gets boosted and plus 5,000. And on rearguard, at the end of the battle, this unit boosted or attacked. If your car was put into the auto mode gauge this turn, retire this unit, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. So a way to clear out some of your opponent's pesky rearguards as well in the form of a grade 2. You have to retire this rearguard as well, but it could just be either a boosted unit or an attack unit and be able to provide this restriction against your opponent as well. The other grade 2s include 3 copies of Roving Probe. From the drop, when it's chosen by the original act of your ability with a grade 3 or greater Impauldio, choose one of your units and gets plus 10 to auto turn. So this is meant when it's chosen for an auto mode gauge for that. And from the drop, when it's chosen by the original auto ability of your system code Exceed, you can soul charge 1 and energy charge 1, giving you more and more resources depending on how it's chosen for the ability for the code Exceed or your Vanguard to be turned into an auto mode gauge. For the grade 1s, 4 copies of Headway Router Dragon. When it's placed on rearguard, if you have an auto mode gauge, Energy Blast 3, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card with a different grade from this card, and grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from among them, call it to rearguard and shuffle the deck. And on rearguard, when this unit boosts, if you have 5 or more auto mode gauges, Soul Blast 1 and gets plus 5 as well. So having more of an Energy Blast used with this rearguard as well, being able to then just give you more of a rearguard presence in the form of a grade 1 to be able to use against your opponent as well. The 3 copies of Spacewalk Dragon at the end of the battle, this unit boosted. If you have 2 or more auto mode gauges, put this unit in the soul. Choose one of your opponent's grade 1 or less rearguards and retire it. So retire power in the form of our grade 1, and the same with Radio RNI, having the additional boost or attack with both of them, just having a retire with RNI, and then they put into the soul with Spacewalk Dragon. And then Spacewalk can only choose grade 1 or less as well. Area and I can at least provide more of the retire power for any of your opponent's rearguards with it. And then the rest of the grade 1s include the 3 copies of Gather to 2. When during your turn, if you have 4 more auto mode gauges, it gets plus 10,000. So potentially an 18k booster, but it could also just be an attacker on its own, because with a Persona Ride, this could be 28k by itself. And then the Sentinel, we have the Craggy Beast Gurgon as the Sentinel. If you want to run the ability one, my buddy Donnie just has these because they were from the start deck to use, but you can use the ability ones and an Elementaria Sanctitude in this spot also, with the Regalis piece for the deck being the Protection Twincast, more readily available from the latest start decks as well for the Skyride series to be able to get a hold of. And then for the trigger lineup, Impauldio having 4 drive checks and the potential 2 with the rearguard means we're running 8 critical just for that added pressure on top of everything else. And then the additional use of drives include the 3 front triggers also, and then the 5k guard power that this card can provide also. And then lastly, the 4 heals, just going with the generic lineup to always have the consistent 15k guard to use against our opponent. And then the over trigger of choice being Val Newt for the potential restand power as well for our rearguards to then be able to restand and then swing again thanks to this over trigger. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy. Once again, big thanks to my buddy Donnie for letting me borrow the Impauldio deck for the video. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.